Two-time heavyweight champion of the world Anthony Joshua is without a doubt one of the most well-prepared athletes on the planet right now. When we look at Anthony Joshua's supreme Adonis-like physique and size, sometimes we don't consider all the training and graft he puts in to get into that condition. In this video today, I'll be looking at Joshua's training routines, including his boxing drills, strength and conditioning, his nutrition, and even his recovery. This should hopefully give you a better idea of the processes of Joshua's training that gets him in top physical condition. But real quick, I just wanted to say a huge thank you to the sponsor of today's video, PulseRoll. PulseRoll is a muscle recovery equipment company that have created and designed the next generation of percussion and vibration recovery technology. This includes their Pro Massage Gun, vibrating massage ball, and vibrating foam roller to help give you the best chance to relieve those sore muscles after a hard training session. Anthony Joshua himself is an ambassador for PulseRoll and uses their products as part of his recovery so he can come back training even harder each day. I have an exclusive discount with 15% off PulseRoll products when you use the code BOXINGLIFE15. Make sure to check out the description below if this interests you. Now, let's get right back into the video. Now, before I get onto the details of the specifics of what Joshua works on, it's important to identify his actual training routine. Now, putting together this video, I've looked at multiple publications in terms of Joshua's training routine, including from GQ, Men's Health, and just generally watching multiple training videos of him online and fight documentaries to see what he does. But it's been widely said in the past Joshua was influenced and inspired by Vladimir Klitschko, as he himself used to partake in his training camps when he first came onto the scene. Now remember, it's important to note that Joshua is a full-time fighter, so you won't be able to implement all this within your own routine. You can definitely try and take some of this and put it into your training sessions. But here we go. Joshua will usually get up between 6:30 and 10 AM, wake up and then have a light breakfast and water. At 11:30 AM he might do some cardio, and then by 1:30 strength and conditioning or boxing training, or both, and then by 5:30 he'll be doing sparring and more boxing training. From 8 PM to 10 PM he'll have his post-workout meal, rest, and then obviously sleep for maximum recovery. So as you can tell just from that table, the British heavyweight has an intense schedule where he trains 3 times a day, including cardio, strength and conditioning, plus boxing training. Obviously towards the end of his camp, his sparring and strength and conditioning sessions will drop off to help reduce the chance of injury and even fatigue. Now I'll go into more detail in regards to each of these training sessions he does. Cardio exercises. Interestingly, Joshua has made it clear the importance of cardio in the morning to help with things such as fat loss. He said to the Journal in an interview with them, "I implement a fasted cardio before breakfast to build up my fitness and burn fat." Another aspect he's brought into his training is the fact he doesn't get up between 5 AM and 6 PM to go out running straight away, which many boxers implement. Instead, he's taken inspirations from the likes of Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather, who would wait till they were well rested before going out on their morning run. The gold medalist has said, "Some fighters get up at 5 AM, which is all good, but sometimes don't leave the gym until late at night, so I need to rest. I'm training hard, so I need to rest to attack the day properly." I've also noticed in my research that Joshua's camps also implement explosive sprint training, which is obviously very important when it comes to the explosiveness of his punching. And he will also often be seen skipping, swimming, and using the exercise bike to help his cardio too, so he's not always constantly running and putting stress on his joints such as his knees. Strength and conditioning. Now this is an area where I feel Joshua gets a really hard time for, which I wouldn't necessarily say he should. This is a statement that gets thrown a lot about the Olympic gold medalist, that he's just a bodybuilder who boxes. And if I'm being honest, I completely disagree with this. Strength and conditioning is a huge part of heavyweight boxing, where you need to be physically strong and sometimes big as possible. We did see this in his first fight against Andy Ruiz, that potentially he overemphasized that area of his training. But once again, people forget he was meant to be fighting Jermell Miller in that fight, and probably wanted to withstand Miller's size. However, despite that first loss, he did make up for it in the second fight by bringing a more balanced approach with his training, which I think will do him better in the long run depending on his opponent. Getting back onto Joshua's strength and conditioning training, he pretty much targets all the areas of his body. The heavyweight champ will, however, do specific movements, which is what I would recommend to all fighters doing strength and conditioning exercises. This in turn will help him generate much of his explosive punch power. Breaking this down, in terms of his lower body, This is where a lot of your power is actually generated. But instead of doing exercises to build up muscle size, Joshua is doing exercise to help with power. So that by the time he enters the ring, he can be better to transfer his overall power in his punches. In terms of upper body, having a good upper body strength is key for all boxers, as this is an area where you need to build up the most, as you will be punching, moving, twisting and turning with the majority of those upper body muscles. And obviously this is an area where Joshua has perfected it as a big heavyweight. Good thing I like to see is that Joshua does in fact do a lot of boxing specific movements, all with the intention to improve power with lots of rotational movements like a punch. This includes things like medicine ball wall throws, landmine press, plyometric push-ups, cable machine and resistant band rotations, and dumbbell press. For his core training, Joshua definitely lives up to this title with the Adonis-like core. But how does Joshua actually get these abs? Well, overall it is a combination, I believe, of all his training, but all the additional core exercises which actually helps to chisel them. Having a strong core is key for the Brit to generate that knockout power, with a lot of the exercises I've seen him do, which include those rotational movements. Neck strength training. For heavyweight boxing, neck strength training is absolutely vital, and that is something even Joshua has identified. Having been inspired by the likes of Mike Tyson, Joshua has adapted his training and uses these neck exercises. He said, "To me, Mike Tyson was the founder of neck strength training in boxing. As a heavyweight boxer, you need extremely strong neck muscles, so I train regularly with a neck harness. As far as I've seen, this includes exercises such as those famous neck rolls, the neck harness, and the kettlebell towel neck ups. In terms of other additional strength training I've seen him do, Joshua will experiment and try new training techniques all the time. He's often seen to be using the heavy battle ropes to help mimic the high intensity of the ring, which is something I would recommend to any boxer to try out. Another advanced sports science method which Joshua uses is his VO2 max testing, while doing exercises such as on the bike, or even doing tire axe swings. It basically makes you have to work harder as it limits the oxygen going into your body, which your muscles need to perform. Boxing training. Now for Anthony Joshua's actual boxing training, for the most part, it's actually quite old school when it comes to this type of training, but with a few additional things to keep things interesting. First off, sparring is one of the key things Joshua prepares for his fights. Much like Klitschko did when he trained with him, he will bring in multiple training and sparring partners according to the opponent he is facing. Another important aspect of this is he still trains at Team GB Boxing, where he gets the opportunity to spar up and coming British heavyweights who are hungry to impress, meaning he has to keep sharp and at the top of his game. The heavy bag. The cornerstone of any boxing champion is using the heavy bag, and there's no difference for Anthony Joshua here. Not only does this help with his conditioning, but it also helps to work on his punch combinations and power shots. Shadowboxing. Shadowboxing is obviously another vital aspect of developing your punch coordination and even your boxing skill set. But Joshua does things slightly differently, as he's taken influence from Brazilian footballers who would train on the beaches by shadowboxing in the sand. This helps to add another dimension to his training, as shadowboxing in the sand helps cardio and leg strength. In an interview with Men's Health, he said, "I think Brazilian footballers are much better in the world because they probably play football in the sand. So they tend to build up the strength on an uneven surface. So if you make things difficult in practice, it becomes easier in the ring. That is really difficult when your feet are in the sand. It's making things difficult, but learning how to adapt." According to this interview, the heavyweight champion will usually do 5 rounds of shadowboxing in the sand due to the unpredictable manner of the sand beneath him. It acts very similar to a sport where anything can happen in an instant. Finally, to develop his skill set, he will often be seen on the pad with his lead trainer Rob McCracken, but also with the Spanish trainer Fernandez, who will do more complex pad and boxing drills along with boxing sticks or noodle bars. This helps to develop Joshua's punch combinations, defensive movements, footwork, power punches, which are obviously also key in boxing. Nutrition. Now, if you haven't guessed already, the Olympic gold medalist does a lot of training. For him to perform at the highest level day in, day out, the nutritional intake and his recovery are absolutely key here. There are many different reports on what Joshua actually takes as part of his nutrition. from eating a whole chicken at Nando's to trying out vegan diets and foods. No doubt I expect him and his team have probably experimented throughout his whole career with a whole range of different nutritional plans to get the best results. From looking at interviews online, this is what I found a typical day might look like for Joshua. Recovery. Now, in terms of his recovery, there are multiple things Joshua will do to help this, but one of the main methods is simply sleeping and relaxing, not doing too much of anything in the evening. As the heavyweight trains 6 days a week at some points, he even tries to take a full day off sleep. Other ways he's helped himself with his recovery is getting massages, ice baths, and even acupuncture to help accelerate the recovery process so you can come back refreshed the next day for another tough day of training. He'll even use pulse rolls, massage guns, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video. So as you can tell from this video, Joshua certainly lives up to the boxer lifestyle, and you cannot deny he cuts any corners when it comes to his training. When you look at Joshua's record and opponents he's faced to date, you can't deny that his training has played a huge part in him becoming a 2-time heavyweight world champion. The fact he trains so much shows and proves how serious and how dedicated he is to the sport of boxing, which I have nothing but respect for him. If you're looking to improve your strength and conditioning, I do recommend you try out some of the exercises and methods I've mentioned in this video. And finally, as much as this training is all amazing, it's important for me to note that he's not just a bodybuilder, and I highly recommend you check out my video where I analyse Anthony Joshua's boxing style, where I actually break down his boxing ability. Final note is that I do like the Brit experiments with other areas of training, but he still follows those old school boxing methods. Hope you enjoyed this boxing training analysis video, guys. Let me know if there's another boxer you'd like me to cover, or I guess you could check out my website and read about the likes of Lomachenko, Inoue and Canelo's training there. As always guys, thanks so much for watching. If you're new here, please subscribe to the channel, and any likes would be much appreciated, really helps it out. As always guys, thanks so much for watching, really appreciate the support, and I'll see you in the next one.